Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and servpro.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome live to 3Y TV and tonight's broadcast of the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series Dirty Bird Sim Racing Dover 150 miles, 150 laps around the track dubbed the Monster Mile. I'm sure we will see Miles the Monster in effect here tonight, wrecking a couple of cars. It's a pretty tricky racetrack to get around. They call this place a roller coaster because, folks, I'll tell you what, it's fast, it's furious, and the bumps are treacherous. Greg, I'm expecting to see some awesome racing here tonight.
Are you ready to go monster hunting, Peter? Because that's what we're going to do for 150 laps here at the Monster Mile. Who is going to be partying with Miles in Victory Lane once this is over? We're 150 laps away from finding out one of the most popular tracks on the tour here in the ASRS series, and I'm looking forward to 150 circuits around this very, very fast concrete mile oval.
Well, last week back at Talladega's kind of a crapshoot. It isn't much of a driver's racetrack. It does take a skill to get around the super speedway and to get to victory lane. That driver, of course, getting the checkered flag last week was Craig Stykes, but getting around Dover is a much different story. Very treacherous. You got to be concerned about tire wear. You got to be worried about wheel spin almost every single lap. Coming out of these corners, very easy to break loose, lose control of your car, and end your day because the front stretch and the back stretch are both very, very narrow, and they always cause havoc for drivers who start to spin and lose control of your car. So I'm expecting to see when an accident happens here tonight, it's going to happen. It's going to happen fast. We'll have to see if these drivers can keep it in check. I have seen the opposite, though, Greg. If it's a difficult racetrack, sometimes these drivers just they understand that. They start to bide their time a little bit, and they don't cause any accidents. Maybe it'd be a caution-free race. Who knows? Only Miles the Monster knows. But, folks, let's see if we can pull up the current point standings for you here tonight, because we have gotten through a good number of races. In fact, 10 races in the rear now in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, and it is John Jenkins leading the points over the reigning Premier Series champion. That would be Mitch Brown. Tyler Seville sits third. Michael Krobach in fourth. Greg Evans sits in fifth. More on him in just a second. Will Worsler, sixth spot. Brian Yazik, Christopher Bouchard, James Lorello, and Jason Stewart rounding out your top 10. But I did mention there, Greg Evans coming in tonight, fifth place in points. Unfortunately, had a passing in the family. So we would like to take a moment's silence here on 3Y TV because we're as much of a member of this racing family as the drivers themselves. We'd like to take a moment for a moment of silence for Mr. Evans's family. All right, thank you for that. Our thoughts and prayers here at 3Y TV are with the family of Greg, and wish them all the best through this tough time. I know it's not a fun time for a lot of us right now with what's going on, but to lose someone, it's just not a fun time. And Greg, like we said, our thoughts and prayers are with you right now through this time. Let's get back to the racetrack. Of course, it is the Dirty Bird Sim Racing Dover 150 here tonight. And let's see if we can dial up one of those Dirty Birds here. We only have actually, no, excuse me. We have actually gone over into the qualifying session. So we'll let the Dirty Bird Sim Racing team go out there and qualify and turn some laps. We're going to hopefully get a word from Tim Knott in the number 41 machine. We'll see if he gets out there and turns a qualifying lap. But Greg, qualifying has been an interesting discussion over the past week or so here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. Back at Talladega last week, a couple drivers actually got disqualified for manipulating their qualifying time, so to speak. There is ways to kind of do that here in the iRacing service. Of course, there's the do burnouts, which has been around forever. There's backing up on pit road to get a little bit better launch, that sort of thing. And really, the officials have come out this week and have said, hey, we don't want to see any of that. We don't want to see any manipulation of your qualifying times. Go out there. We want everyone on a level playing field. Just go out there, turn your lap. Don't do anything different. Once you start rolling off pit road, go turn your laps. And I got to say, at least in my opinion, that puts everyone on a level playing field. You just got to go out there as a driver, got to go turn your best lap you can. We want to see the best drivers in these fields. We want to see the fastest cars out there. That's what the fans want to see here on YouTube. Make sure if you're in the chat, give us a shout. And I got to say, especially for the big tracks like Daytona and Talladega, that a little bit of an unfair advantage can make a difference.
Yeah, and especially at tracks such as, like you mentioned, the plate tracks, Daytona and Talladega, you have so much room to build up speed, but if you were able to manipulate it and build up even more, it's a huge advantage on your first qualifying lap and getting you up to speed much quicker for your second qualifying lap. So it's good to see the officials catching on to that and cracking down right away, and that just is one of the things that makes the ASRS series one of the best leagues in the iRacing world to watch here on a weekly basis. Is they are so adamant about having fair and strict competition, and they go to any length possible to get the best possible quality product they can put on the racetrack. And that is just one of several things that they are willing to do to make it happen. And it's so much fun to watch it all unfold. And it's so great to see a series taking this so seriously like this. And it's showing in the competition. We've had some outstanding racing. And coming back here to what we talked about with Dover's International Raceway, one of the premier tracks on the Cup circuit, if you will, as far as like sensation of speed goes. The sensation of speed so high here when you're flying around on the concrete surface into the corners. So it's very, very good to see the officials taking this qualifying situation that we had last week seriously here coming into Dover tonight.
Absolutely. There you see the number 65 machine, Travis McDaniel, going around the racetrack. We're closing in on the halfway mark here in the qualifying session. They do get 10 minutes to turn 2 timed laps. And Travis McDaniel there going across the stripe off into turn number 1 and 2. Now, very, very quick racetrack, very high speeds, upwards of 140 miles an hour in the corners and up to about 170 down the straightaway. So very, very quick racetrack. In fact, I'm watching these drivers dive off into turn number 1, 180 miles an hour on a 1 mile racetrack. There you see the number 41 of Tim Knott going around into turn number 3 now. You see just how these cars dive off into the corner. Let's see if we can go on board with Tim Knott here as he bounces his way coming out of turn number 4 down the front stretch one more time and into turn number 1. Just watch this roller coaster, folks. Just watch as he kind of lurches up out of the turn number 2 and then down the back stretch and then dives off into turn number 3. You just kind of shoot down the banking there, and it is really, oh man, gets a little bit squirrely coming out of turn number 4. That will hurt his lap time possibly just a little bit. Decent lap time out of Tim Knott. He's going to go 15th right now. It's about halfway through the field. We do have 28 cars who have turn time, and there is the number 87 of Jay Crable, War Turtle Racing Machine. New paint scheme on that car, and he's used that paint scheme in a couple of other iRacing leagues. He's done some 24-hour races with that paint scheme, and now he has slapped it on his Chevy Camaro, working his way now through turn number 1 and 2, trying to get himself a good qualifying run. Currently sitting 29th out of the 29 cars to take time. We'll see if he can pick it up on lap number 2. Most of the time you can with this current tire model, but oh man, he almost slapped the wall coming out of turn number 4. Gonna pick it up one spot. Gonna be 28th out of the 29 cars to take time. There's Christopher in the 46 machine. And now I believe that we've got getting word that Brian Yazik won't be starting tonight's race in the number 55 machine, and the HPPsimulations.com Ford, I know that's going to be a big hurt to him inside the top 10 in points. Well, let's see if we can finally dial up Tim Knott. We've got about 3 minutes left, so hopefully we can here. And here he is, Tim Knott, Peter Short, and 3 wide TV booth. Got a couple minutes left here before the start of the race, and of course it is the Dirty Bird Sim Racing Dover 150. Tell us a little bit about what your racing team is, what you got on the sponsors for that number 41 machine, and what your teammates have.
Oh gosh, you're asking a lot there. I got Splash and Go and Todd Kirkwood, of course. Without them, I wouldn't be here. Dirty Bird's just a bunch of misfits that fit together.
I'll tell you what, in my iRacing career and all my sim racing career, the teams that stick together are the bands of misfits, just kind of a good cohesive group to work. And, going back to that amount of teamwork, how much teamwork does it take here in iRacing? A lot of people might overlook that, people who are not familiar with sim racing.
Well, it definitely helps, let's put it that way. If you're out there by yourself, nobody's going to help you. If you got teammates that can help coach you and keep you going.
Well, it looks like over halfway through qualifying now. You're sitting 15th on the grid. That's just about midfield. What do you think about your chances here tonight?
Yeah, that's a good one. This isn't my best track. If I can just finish the race, I'll be happy.
What is it about Dover to you that makes this place unique? A lot of drivers say it's, kind of a driver's racetrack, but, chances of having a big one on the backstretch, that roller coaster effect coming out of turn number 2 and turn number 4, is it just a racetrack that you just don't jive with, or is it one that you enjoy, you just can't find speed?
No, I enjoy it. It's not the speed. It's a very fast track. That's probably the biggest problem. You're on the floor just about all the way around this place. You lift for a split second, you're back on the floor. So if anything happens in front of you, you don't have much time to miss it.
Yeah, it is going to be one very exciting race here tonight. But Tim, we'll let you get back to your Dirty Bird Sim Racing teammates, and best of luck here tonight.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right, Greg. Well, I'll tell you what, it is going to be a great show here tonight. And what are you kind of expecting to see around this 1 mile oval?
Peter, when the ARCA series was here a few weeks ago on the official racing circuit on iRacing, where they raced every hour at 45 minutes after the hour, well, I ran a few of those, and what I saw the common trend was a lot of drivers starting in the second half of the field, myself included, kind of taking their time and just going on defense for a majority of the race, just trying to dodge all the incidents that could happen and try to work their way up that way. But with the competition as stout as it is, track position, I think, is going to be a lot more important in this race here tonight. 150 laps of distance, a long way here at the Dover International Speedway. But track position is going to be very important because with the competition as tight as it is, as you can see in the qualifying times, just how close in time all these cars are as we wrap up the final few seconds of qualifying. It's going to be very important to see how these drivers gauge the track position in the early stages, especially with how tight this field is going to be. So I think you're going to see a lot of drivers trying to find that perfect balance of trying to get up in track position, but trying to stay out of trouble because like we talked about earlier, the sensation of speed is so high here at Dover International Speedway that something can happen and you're in it before you know it. So you got to be patient. You got to show a lot of control, self-control here at Dover to try to set things up for you to have a good run in the second half of the race. As we begin to grid, I'm expecting to see some back and forth and a lot of drivers trying to find a mix, or a healthy mix, if you will.
Absolutely. And of course, there's always going to be pit strategy because they do have a limited amount of tires here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. But why don't we go down to tonight's starting lineup? And it is your current points leader, driver of the number 7 machine, John Jenkins, who has put it on the pole. And right next to him, the number 29, always fast, Will Worsler, making up a very strong front row. Row number 2, starting in the 3rd position, is the number 32 of Jordan Harnish and the number 19 of Cody Spiker to his outside. Great qualifying run there by that number 19 machine. The number 65 of Travis McDaniel, one of John Jenkins' teammate, will roll off from the 5th position, and the number 28 of Troy Hake, good qualifying run for him, starting in 6th. Your reigning Hacksaw PC's Premier Series champion of Mitch Brown will roll off from P7, and to his outside, the number 99 of Clarence Bonner. Row number 5, the number 9 of Brandon Stokes will start from P number 9, and Doug Mullins in the number 18 will start from his outside there, Greg.
Ty Hester, back behind the wheel after missing a few weeks, will roll off in the 11th spot. To his outside, Michael Krobach, so close to sealing the deal at Talladega last week. He will roll off from the 12th position. Jonathan Holstein, good qualifying effort for the 73, rolls off 13th, but James Lorello was in the top 5 in practice. Unfortunately, not the qualifying lap he wanted. He will start 14th. Tim Knott, we talked to him earlier, rolls off in the 15th position with Jimmy McKee to his outside in 16th. Adam Jersky and Tyler Seville, another driver who had such a strong run at Talladega last week, up in the mix at the end, rolls off 18th with John Broussard and Kelsey Rogers, John Broussard and Kelsey Rogers, yes, rounding out the top 20. Peter.
Alan Young and Ethan Adams, 21st and 22nd. Alex Giese and Jared Haggerty will make up row number 12. Richard Stallings and Michael Whiting, the 17 and 22, will make up row number 13. Behind them, Pete Baskins and Jay Crable, that number 87, that new paint scheme that we highlighted earlier. Brad Lee will roll off from the 29th position. Behind him, looks like we'll have Tony Schoen, Chris Stouffer, Shane Parrish, Mark Myers, Jason Stewart, J.R. Bash, Richard Fletcher, Sam Crow, and will make up the 37-car grid who will go out here tonight. Ethan Adams has been given end of longest line penalty, so he will go to the back of the field. But we're going to have the pace car dive off onto pit. No, we're going an extra pace. No, we are going green. My, oh my, green flag is out, catching me all up out of shape, and it is John Jenkins who leads them off into turn number 1. Jenkins going to clear the number 29 machine of Will Worsler, but Worsler's coming back. Caution flag is in the air. Couple cars around in turn number 1 and 2, including the number 34 machine of Kelsey Rogers, and he's been banged up on all 4 fenders of that machine. And going through the number 88 machine there of Ethan Adams. Not quite sure if that was a little bit of connection issue, but we'll go back and see what happened here on the replay. Let's see here. Here's the race start. There's the number 34 machine, Kelsey Rogers. He's to the outside of the 53 of Broussard. And looks like there's just going to be a little bit of contact right ahead of him and nowhere for Kelsey Rogers to go.
Yeah, Jersky and Seville getting together, and Kelsey Rogers unfortunately getting the worst of it. And one of the Will Worsler cars as well sliding up there. I believe that was the 43 that was sliding up there. Richard Fletcher in the wall as well. So tough start to the day there in the middle of the pack, and a couple of Will Borston cars involved. So no doubt not the race start they wanted, especially after having such a strong team outing last week at Talladega, and suddenly two of their entries in trouble on the first lap of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like the number 43, though, Fletcher, looks like he might have got away with barely any damage, maybe just a few scrapes on the right-hand side of that car, because I don't see any visible damage. We do have a couple cars on pit road. Mark Myers, Jason Stewart, Tyler Seville, Kelsey Rogers, John Broussard coming down. Looks like that is it for your takers on pit road. Looks like Tony Schoen in the number 33 machine might be coming down, but I'm getting word that a couple of drivers might actually be taking tires, and that is going to be a tough move because you do have a limited number of tires, I do believe, in this series. So that would be a rough start if you already lose a set on lap number 3 here at Dover, since this racetrack does eat through the tires. But as for the number 7 machine of John Jenkins, he's your race leader, not a scratch on it. So far led every single lap because we've only had about half a lap under green. Let's go over to the chat. We got the DMLC Racing Channel. That's Mark Cohn, Clarence Bonner, Ty Hester, Nikki Warsler, Michael Kinder, saying, were they ready for that start? Don't think they were. But unfortunately, a little bit of contact bringing out the first caution of the day. I know I wasn't ready for that race start, and I couldn't see where the pace truck went, but we do have the 1 to green right now, so hopefully everyone will be a little bit more ready for this green flag here in one more lap. War Turtle Racing in the chat as well. Doug Mullins saying, what up, 3 Wide TV? What's up? Hopefully your race goes well here tonight in that number 18 machine. Doug Mullins currently sitting in the 11th position. As you can probably imagine, there hasn't been too many comers and goers yet so far in this race. Well, I'll tell you what, Greg, if that's any indication, we could be in for a pretty long night. Hopefully we can get some green flag laps in.
Yeah, it'll be a very, very interesting race here, no doubt, as we only got about half a lap, like you mentioned, before we had that first incident here. Coming to the restart, it'll be lap 5 when we take the green flag, and we'll see how these drivers are able to respond to this quick caution, as that was kind of the test run. It's like, okay, false start, let's try it again. Coming to green, lap 5, I think a lot of drivers will be like, okay, let's try this again, and here we go.
Green flag back in the air. John Jenkins on the loud pedal. Great restart for John Jenkins. He skips away from the number 29 machine of Warsaw, already getting about 3 or 4 car lengths between those two vehicles. And then in third is Jordan Harnish, right where he qualified. Travis McDaniel has slotted up into the 4th position. Spiker back to 5th. And now we have finally got one green flag lap in. And here comes Will Warsler. Warsler got a fantastic run through turn number 3 and 4 to close right to the back bumper. And as I say that, he got right to the back bumper of the number 7 of Jenkins. Warsler wants this race lead here in the early going.
Peter, if I had to pick a driver who is knocking on the door of a Premier Series win, who has come so close so many times over the last few weeks, it would be that 29 car, Will Warsler. He has been knocking on the door of a win here for quite some time here in the Hacksaw's Premier Series, and he is looking strong as ever here tonight in the 2nd place. A lot of momentum built over the last few weeks. If I had to pick a guy who I'm watching to break through, it's going to be that 29 car right now.
Yeah, Warsler got that 1 win on the season that he has to his name back at Phoenix, but that was in the 4th race of the year. That was 7 races ago, and that number 29 machine really wanting to get to victory lane each and every week, and he is right behind the number 7 of Jenkins. Now, this is such a fast racetrack, folks, that aero push is actually a real thing, as we do see the number 36 of Ty Hester bring the Glassdoor Brewing number 36 on pit road here. He's going to slide well back through the field. Not quite sure if that was a planned pit stop or not. Going to see whether or not he might have just had a drive-through there, but he's just going to scoot on through pit road. and he will be 1 lap down, scored in the 36th position in the number 36 machine. Maybe he just wanted to slide back to where his number was. I doubt that's it, but we got this good side-by-side battle with the number 9 and the number 19. That's Brandon Stokes and Cody Spiker in the number 19 machine doing battle just for a top 5 position. Stokes will take it away and move himself up into the top 5. So we got 3 of the Momentum Sim Racing drivers getting a little bit of momentum here early on inside the top 5.
Yeah, good runs here early on in this one. And Travis McDaniel is the one that's standing out to me right now. Up in the 4th position, having a good run, was knocking on the door of Harnish there, who, again, we talked about that in the pre-race. He's looking for a bounce back after Talladega last week, in which he was so fast in the early going but lost the motor early on in the race. He's looking for a bounce back as well. But the guy behind him, Travis McDaniel, I've been keeping my eye on him because he qualified in the top 5 after being middle of the pack in practice. So I'm just very impressed to see him up there, and he looks like he's following suit here in the race. Good run early for that 65 from Travis McDaniel. Keeping my eye on him here in the early stages.
Absolutely. A little bit further back in the pack, there's Jay Crable and the number 24 of Alan Young doing battle through turn number 1 and 2. Keep an eye on Richard Stallings as well in the number 17 machine. So far, the biggest mover of the race is actually Chris Stouffer in the number 46 machine in the 19th position, just a couple of cars ahead of that battle. And you see him trying to get underneath Adam Jersky here in the number 71 machine, trying to gain another spot. That would be 13 spots gained if you can get around Jersky. He slots back in for now, but you see those cars starting to wiggle. And that is going to be something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, Greg, just how much tire wear is happening on these cars. They haven't lost a whole lot of time yet. They've only lost about 2 to 3 tenths. But as this run continues on, you'll start to see those cars slide more and more and more, especially coming out of turn number 2 and turn number 4.
Yeah, this track just eats into Bowers tires. Miles the Monster loves Goodyear tires, and he eats them non-stop at this racetrack. So we're expecting to see the fall off be very, very significant the longer and longer this green flag run goes. I believe we are 10 laps into this green flag run, just about, as we started it on lap 5, working lap 16 now. So in that ballpark there, Jenkins has led every lap thus far, but we talked about it in the pre-race. Track position was going to be important because of the tire management game you have to play, especially with the tire limit that you have in this series. I'm almost wondering, those drivers that took fresh tires on that caution, I'm almost wondering if they pulled into the pits just to try to get some damage repaired and forgot to uncheck the tires, Peter.
Yeah, that is something you manually have to do here in iRacing. It usually automatically sets itself to change tires. We have a battle for the 5th position brewing once again. Cody Spiker underneath the number 9 of Stokes. He'll take that spot right back, so move the number 19 machine back up into the top 5. Good qualifying run for Spiker, trying to get a good solid finish here tonight. But yeah, going back to your point, you do have to uncheck your tires. Usually iRacing assumes that you want to take tires, but here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, you can't always take tires because of the tire limit. And so if you forget to say, I don't want tires, well, you're going to be at one set down. So I definitely saw the number 34 Kelsey Rogers take tires, so that's going to be something we're going to have to keep an eye on throughout this race.
Oh, problems in the middle of the field. Alex Giese, Jared Haggerty getting together. I was watching them because I noticed Haggerty had gone up 11 spots, and suddenly, right as we were getting ready to cut to them, they went around, and Haggerty has damage. Alex Giese spun down to the bottom, and the battle for 15th got turned on its lid.
Oh man, and no caution. Can you believe that? This racetrack, so narrow. I would have expected a caution come out for many spins, but Giese doing a 360, a little bit of help from the inside wall to get that car sorted and going straight again, but definitely a damage to the right side. Watch the number 6 machine. Looks like Haggerty might have just clipped the outside wall. Giese, no time to react, ran into the back of that number 6 machine, and unfortunately Giese got the bad end of that stick because he's now well down the order in the 29th position with a significant amount of damage to both the right side and the left side of that Chevy Camaro. And I know Alex Giese was hoping to have a good run here tonight. Giese just hasn't had a lot of luck as of late here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. He's been getting a lot of starts in that 77 machine, just hasn't been able to back that up recently with a good finish. Here we got a side-by-side battle. There goes the number 17 machine. Richard Stallings getting past the number 6, and Ty Hester, excuse me, not Ty Hester, that's Tyler Seville, coming back out onto the racetrack in the number 11 machine after being involved in the early accident that brought out the only yellow so far in the first 24 laps. And look at this battle. This is for the 5th position once again, brewing between Cody Spiker, Brandon Stokes, but look who's right behind him. That's the number 51 of Mitch Brown.
Mitch Brown, the defending series champion, coming up, and has slowly been working his way up through the field. Still in the position he started, but he's kind of been hanging back there, and he's decided, you know what, my time to show my hand to Brandon and Cody up in front of me. And that's really been one of the best battles on the track thus far, the battle between Stokes and Spiker, as Brown jumps in between them now, and here comes Troy Haight and Clarence Bonner up with him. And Troy Haight was another driver who had a pretty good qualifying effort in the number 28, and he's been fast all day, up in the top 5 near the end of practice. Qualified 6th today, currently running in the 7th position. Good start to the day for the 28 car of Troy Haight, as well as more drivers now begin to work their way around Spiker as Bonner clears him. Here comes Doug Mullins in the Will Forstler entry.
Yeah, that outside groove does not look like where you want to be, because Spiker just went from 5th, and now he's doing battle with that number 18 machine. That is all the way back in the 9th and 10th spots, and I think Spiker's going to lose another spot here to the number 99 of, or assuming he's already lost that spot to the number 99 of Bonner. So Spiker going to slide back to 10th. Got the number 73 of Holstein right behind him. See if Holstein can start to close in, but what I think we're starting to see here, Greg, is a little bit of tire wear starting to peek its head out just a little bit, because drivers like Jordan Harnish have fallen well off the back of Travis McDaniel. You're looking at Jordan Harnish, who's now 3.8 seconds behind your race leader and 2.7 seconds behind the next car in front of him. You're starting to see drivers like Mitch Brown eat into that gap to the cars ahead quite significantly. Fastest car on the racetrack last time by was Travis McDaniel. He's actually running down your 2 race leaders, John Jenkins and Will Worsler. There he is. You see Worsler slid up a little bit further back behind the number 7, not so close to the Max Pappas Innovations number 7 machine anymore. And McDaniel just slowly but surely eating into that gap. But I think Mitch Brown in the number 51 machine, he's going to be on the back bumper of the Dirty Bird, or, well, the other driver who's in the Dirty Bird Sim Racing channel, not one of the Dirty Bird Sim Racing drivers, one of the ATR drivers, Jordan Harnish in the number 32 machine. He's also sports very similar liveries to the Dirty Bird Sim Racing. Got Kirkwood Transportation on the deck lid of that number 32. But Mitch Brown will be making a battle for that 4th position very shortly, as he's all but closed in on the back bumper of the number 32.
Yeah, but speaking of closing in, race leader John Jenkins has caught up to lap traffic, and it is heavy in front of him as he has caught the tail end of the field right now, making his first move, putting one car down 1 lap. I believe that was the 4 of J.R. Bash. Yes, it was, as he has already got 1 car down. Next up, Alex Giese caught up in that incident about 10 laps ago with Jared Haggerty. So the race leader now beginning to catch the tail end of traffic, and he's using it to separate himself from Worsler and McDaniel a little bit, and this is going to help him out even more. McDaniel has caught up to the back bumper of Will Worsler, so the battle is on for second between McDaniel and Worsler, and that could not be better timing for John Jenkins, as now he doesn't have to worry about what's going on behind him for the moment, as he can focus solely on trying to pick off these lap drivers one by one as he gets around Alex Giese in the number 77. Next up will be the 04 of Mark Myers here in turn 3.
And I'll tell you what, the 29 caught lap traffic right in the wrong spot. You do not want to catch someone on entry into turn number 1. But that really allowed the number 65 to get a little bit of a run on him. And so McDaniel now all over the back bumper of Will Worsler here as these laps start to tick away. McDaniel was the fastest car on the racetrack when they were in clean traffic, so all of a sudden McDaniel's starting to make some noise up at the front. Can confirm that Mitch Brown has also made the pass. Oh man, we just had a car shoot across the racetrack here on the front stretch. It was the number 88 machine. Will Worcester had to check up on the brakes, and he almost went for a spin because the number 88 shot across the racetrack, and I think Worcester expected him to stay down towards the apron, but he started coming back up the racetrack. Let's watch exactly what happened here, riding on board with the number 29 machine, Greg.
Team coming off and has to slam on the brakes there to dodge number 88. Does a great job saving it. McDaniel able to get around him as McDaniel was right on the back bumper. And Forster did a great job to minimize the damage there, only losing one spot for the time being. Here we go on board with Travis McDaniel in the 65, and you see right there, Forster had to check up a little bit already to avoid running into his teammate, the 43 of Fletcher, and didn't even see the 88 card there, I believe, and just had to slam on the brakes, spun out. Great job by Forster to make a save. Unfortunately, that will drop him back to third place and into the clutches of Mitch Brown before too long.
You know what, I'll tell you what, depending on what field of view that number 29 runs at in his cockpit, he might not have been able to see the number 88 machine until he was pretty much on him, which might have led to that incident as well. So Will Worcester, a lot of rear end damage, and he is losing a little bit of ground on the cars in front of him. I'm sure he will want to come down pit road and get that damage fixed. I do want to talk about pit road because really these drivers only have to pit one time. If we go caution free from here on out, they only have to make one pit stop throughout the entire race. They can go about 90 laps on fuel thereabouts. But I had heard from numerous drivers that tires might be what is more concerning. I heard some drivers on the Pro Series side of things say that they were in danger of blowing right front tires. So it would be interesting to see if we see that here tonight. But these drivers only have to go 35 more laps or so until they are at the halfway distance here in tonight's Dirty Bird Sim Racing 150 here at Dover International Speedway, the Monster Mile as it's called, and it can reach out and grab you sometimes. I'm also curious to know, Greg, how much damage Travis McDaniel has on that front end. Looks like a little bit of left front because he's been losing time now to John Jenkins.
Just a tiny amount of damage, but with this aero package at a track such as Dover, the tiniest amount of damage is so critical here at this track. You lose so much straightaway speed with just the slightest crumple on the front of your car, or the rear of your car for that matter, but it is just so important here to have a clean race car. So Travis McDaniel, the damage there on the front of the car may be hindering his charge back up to John Jenkins, who still has led every lap thus far as he continues to work his way through lap traffic. Next up on the list, the 87 of Jay Crable, who is sporting the different paint scheme like we talked about, paying tribute to the road racing side of the War Tunnel Racing stable, who, according to Crable, has been doing very, very well in their escapades this season, so he wanted to hope and bring some of that over to the oval side here in the ASRS, but he just went a lap down to the number 7 of John Jenkins, who continues to lead. So as this race winds on, as we close in on halfway, we're about 30 laps from halfway. Peter, what are you seeing quickly?
Well, I'm seeing things start to transition. I'm starting to see some drivers near the back of the field who early on in the race might have been saving a little bit of tires. Drivers like Shane Parrish, Mitch Brown, Richard Stallings, Jason Stewart, they're starting to make some inroads on the cars in front of them, especially the number 81 of Shane Parrish. He was actually the fastest car over the last 5 laps, just a few laps ago before he caught up to the back bumper of Chris Stouffer. But that number 81 Surf Pro machine looking pretty good here in the middle portion of this run.
And Peter, noticing, we talked about the 81 and the 46 there, notice their starting position. Those two drivers made up row number 16 on the day. Stouffer started 31st, Parrish started 32nd. They're up to 16th and 17th. They each have followed each other through the field and have cut their... They've already passed half the field, exactly. Both of them have. As now they gain another spot as they get around Jonathan Holstein. So moved Chris Stouffer into the top 15 for the time being. So the 46 to 81 definitely showing some speed here.
Yeah, in fact, Shane Parrish, Chris Stouffer, and how about Sam Crow as well? All three of those drivers, oof, man, had to do some evasive maneuver there as the number 4 of J.R. Bash got into the outside wall there on the front stretch. And now we got one car riding up near the wall through turn number 1 and 2. That's Pete Baskins in the number 27 machine, riding way up high. Looks like he's just staying out of the groove for a lot of these other cars to go by. He's currently being scored 1 lap down. Yeah, definitely some big movers in this race. And conversely, we have some drivers, Ty Hester, Michael Whiting, Kelsey Rogers, your biggest drops in the field from the start of this race, as well as Tyler Seville. But Seville has had his troubles. Oh, contact number 3 is around, and caution flag is in the air. And this is a fairly large accident here on the front stretch. It's still going on. That is the number 3 that's turned around of James Lorello, sporting a new paint scheme this week. Now let's see what happened here. Doing battle with the number 9 of Brandon Stokes. Coming out of turn number 4, just a little bit of contact there. Not quite sure if the 3 didn't give enough room. And oof, there's Alex Giese. Talked about his bad luck. It continues to get worse. The 19 of Spiker involved. The 72 of Krobach involved. Remember, Krobach almost went to victory lane last week at Talladega. But we are under the second caution flag. And look, that was so tight coming out of turn number 4. Lorello and Stokes. And I really got to say that Lorello probably got the worst out of it in the Glassdoor Brewing number 3 machine. But we have made it to the 1/3 distance. Well, as I say that, the number 9 is pretty worse for wear as well in the inside wall.
Alan Young involved in that as well in the 24. Alex Giese not having the day he wanted. So caution is out here on lap number 50. And Peter, would you expect drivers to come down in force? Because here they come. John Jenkins leads the charge down.
Yeah, everyone's going to come down. Everyone wants 4 fresh Goodyear tires. I'll tell you that much. They have seen enough of that first set. And you see everyone slide into their pit box led by John Jenkins. And the Max Pappas Innovations number 7 machine will get the 4 tires, like I said, and he will be the first one off pit road easily, followed by his teammate Travis McDaniel. Kind of surprised to see that Will Warser did decide to get a little bit more damage repaired after that rear end contact with the number 65. Really crinkled that rear bumper on Warser's machine. Seeing the rest of the field come on off pit road. Let's see if we can see any interesting pit times. Looks like we got a couple of drivers on pit road right now. Brandon Stokes, Cody Spiker, Michael Krobach, Lorello, Michael Whiting. They're all getting as much damage fixed as possible. In fact, I believe Lorello, he came down pit road when pit road was still closed. So Lorello definitely going to have a lengthy pit stop here. And we'll have to see whether or not he can get back on the racetrack without losing too many laps, because he's already lost 1. There's the 77 of Giese. No front end on that car. Hopefully that crew has a clean bumper that they can slap on it here and under this pit sequence. But pretty interesting to see the pit strategy come on out. But we're going to step away for just a brief moment to have a quick word from our sponsor. We'll be right back to the Monster Mile.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one. 1-800-SERVPRO, the number 1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
All right, folks, welcome back to Dover, Delaware, and the Monster Mile. John Jenkins leading the field so far, leading every single lap here so far. The pace car lights are off. We're going to get set to go back to green flag racing. Hopefully cautions don't breed cautions, because that was getting pretty interesting there, Greg. Just starting to see that those tires transition. But we have some interesting new players up towards the front of the field. Drivers like Jimmy McKee, who had broken into the top 10 in the number 8 machine. Christopher now inside the top 10 in the number 46 machine, making some big moves in that car. But the pace car now headed down pit road, pace truck I should say. That Chevy Silverado leading the field down at a very slow 45 miles an hour, waiting for John Jenkins to hit the loud pedal, and there he goes, the Max Pappas Innovations number 7 going to lead the field off into turn number 1, going to clear his teammate Travis McDaniel. Bo Worcester is going to slot into 3rd, Mitch Brown 4th, and we're single file for the first 5 cars. First side-by-side battle is Clarence Bonner and the number 18 and Doug Mullins.
Mullins on the outside, first car on the, or actually, I'm sorry, that's the 99 on the outside, saw the wrong car up there, but look at the way that the cars in 2nd and 3rd, McDaniel and Worcester, were able to get right back up to the back bumper of John Jenkins as things settle down behind him. We're single file all the way through the field now. Mitch Brown taking a peek inside of Will Worcester. That's for the 3rd spot. Here comes Troy Haight with a peek, and that's going to open the door for Doug Mullins to get a run. But look at the way they were able to catch right back up to Jenkins after a good start. Here we have a battle brewing once again for 3rd. Mitch Brown, Will Worcester. They will go side by side into turn number 1. Give it to Mitch Brown. He brings Troy Haight with him. Great run going for Troy Haight here tonight in the 28 as they work their way through. Move Haight up into the 4th spot, and Will Worcester suddenly finds himself now on the bubble of falling out of the top 5. He's in 5th.
Yeah, Troy Haight needs a good run here tonight after finishing 38th last week at Talladega. That number 28 machine here definitely showing that he has the ability to bounce back from that tough finish. Hopefully he can keep it together for the next 100 laps or so, as we're just under 100 to go here, just under 100 miles. And I'm kind of curious to know what the number 51 of Mitch Brown is doing. I'm kind of wondering if he learned from that first run. Did he go too far back? So you see him make a move on Travis McDaniel to move up into the 2nd spot, and he's gonna go to the inside on John Jenkins and move to the race lead. What a move from 3rd to 1st in a lap. What about that for that number 51 machine, your reigning series champion Mitch Brown, to the race lead?
I'll tell you what he's doing. He is going to the front. Mitch Brown getting through the field like a hot knife through butter, and here he is out front slicing and dicing, and he has set sail. Look at Troy Haight though in the 28 not going away. Troy Haight having a great run. He's up to 2nd as he gets around early leader John Jenkins. 1 car on pit road, but boy, they are pulling away. Mitch Brown has opened up already a half a second lead over Troy Haight, and we'll see how that settles down through the rest of the field. That was Pete Baskins on pit road.
Yeah, I was just about to say, maybe that 51 had learned something from his first run, that maybe he should push it a little bit harder earlier on. Well, I'll tell you what, he's pushing it pretty hard early on in this run, now being out front. Great to see Troy Haight now up into the 2nd spot. I'm just curious to know, John Jenkins, Travis McDaniel, are they just saving their tires? Are they just waiting for this race to come to them? How long do they wait? Or do they just sit and wait until they start closing in? We can play some Jaws theme music here in a little bit, but I'll tell you what, great run for Mitch Brown. He started up near the front, and that's pretty rare for Mitch Brown, especially this season, that we see Mitch Brown qualify well. But great run here tonight in qualifying, got him started up in the 7th position, now leading the field and already starting to bear down on some lap traffic not too far in front of him. The laps go off the lap counter pretty quickly around this place. And you catch a lot of lap traffic. So there you go. You see the top 2 right now completely checked out up at the front. And here comes Troy Haight. He's not backing down. He's sniffing the race lead here behind the number 51 of Mitch Brown. There's Michael Krobach to the outside of the HPPsimulations.com. Number 72, remember he got some damage under that last accident. I'm sure that's not what he wanted to see. He's had some tough luck this season, much like Alex Giese in the number 77 machine. But folks, I want to also see this train of cars. We got a train from third spot all the way back to the number 73 of Jonathan Holstein in 12th. And now, look at Travis McDaniel. He's stuck behind the number 72 machine of Krobach. The field using Krobach as a pick, and McDaniel went from 4th now all the way back to almost being outside the top 10. So that outside groove for McDaniel not working here. McDaniel going to lose another spot here to Chris Stouffer. And caution flag is in the air, and it looks like Richard Fletcher in the number 43 machine has gone around, and the number 18 of Mullins has also gone around. I think it started with the number 43 of Fletcher, who was right in front of your race leaders, I do believe, in one of the Sliced Porcupines machine. We'll see what happened here as your that was the third place machine bearing down. And it looks like Warser is going to get a little bit more damage out of that. Not quite sure with what happened with Fletcher. I think he just caught the outside wall. Might have gotten a little bit loose. Tony Schoen nowhere to go in the number 33 machine. And Fletcher going for the spin cycle here, getting quite a bit of damage. Luckily, all your leaders able to scoot by, except for maybe the 18 of Mullins there and the number 29 machine. The 04 machine was also involved in that. That is Mark Myers. He was mired down the field in the 24th position when that all went down. Here we go, on board with Will Warser. Oh boy, just scooting through that one. I'm sure he's not too happy he's got more damage, but it could have been a whole lot worse for the number 29 machine. Looks like we might have lost Mr. Greg Rentz here, unfortunately, so we'll kind of take you through this as we bear in on the halfway distance here, just a few laps away from the halfway mark, as we're now working lap number 69. Your race leader is still the number 7 machine of John Jenkins, or excuse me, not John Jenkins, the number 51 of Mitch Brown. And I'll tell you what, you know who also got a piece of that? The number 51 of Mitch Brown. I completely missed this, but Mitch Brown, his back bumper is all crinkled in. Same thing with John Jenkins. So you're the two drivers who have led tonight, Mitch Brown and John Jenkins, both receiving damage from that. I'll have to see if Troy Haight got any front-end damage. Looks like he did. So all of a sudden, your race leaders are getting a little bit of damage. Let's see if we can see what happened between the 28 and the 51. And there you go. You saw just the nudge. I thought they had got away. Maybe a little bit of net code causing some damage between those two. And I believe John Jenkins got a little bit of damage in the rear end from that as well, possibly from the front end of Will Warser's number 29 Sliced Porcupines machine as they all checked up. So, man, this is going to be interesting. Your top 4 cars now have damage. So does that put the number 99 Clarence Bonner in the best position? We'll have to wait and see. No one came down pit road up at the front. First car to come down pit road was the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart. We'll have to see how that works out for Jason. Tim Knott in 17th, also coming down pit road. Haggerty, Adam Jersky, Tony Schoen, Alan Young, Cody Spiker coming down pit road. Remember, Spiker was involved in an accident earlier on. He's been very, very quick, though. Qualified up near the front in that snap-on number 19 machine. But this is going to be interesting just to see how much that damage affects the rest of the field. Let's go down to the chat. Let's see who we got down there. We got Mark Combs of the MLC Racing Channel saying Martinsville is next week. It's my favorite short track. Yes, not only is it Martinsville, it is Martinsville at night. Martinsville was, the Martinsville night was released today in the iRacing service. All these drivers had to do an update. So pretty cool to see Martinsville at night. I'm really looking forward to that one next week. Of course, it is one of the Glassdoor Brewing races, the Glassdoor Brewing Martinsville 200 laps around the famed half-mile paperclip. Very much looking forward to that one. It should be a fantastic show, but the pace truck lights have turned off up at the front of the field, and I think we're about to find out just how much damage these front runners have from that melee on the back stretch. Race control getting on the intercom right now, trying to get the field sorted out. We got a couple of cars near the back of the field not yet sorted out. Looks like they're finally started to get lined up back there, but man, look at that back half of the field. A couple of cars, pretty significant damage back there. And that's what happens here at Dover, Delaware. We mentioned it in the pre-race that once wrecks start to happen, they happen fast, very hard to avoid. We saw that under that last caution, that last accident that we just had. But once that pace truck dives down pit road, the race will be in the hands of your race leader, your reigning Hacksaw PC's Premier Series champion, the number 51 of Mitch Brown. 45 miles an hour until he hits the loud pedal, and there he goes. Green flag in the air once again, as we're now just 5 laps short of the halfway distance here tonight. Mitch Brown dives off into turn number 1. Big gap over the number 7 of Jenkins, who got around Troy Haight. Haight now back to third. We'll see how that damage affects these drivers up near the front. Haight now going to go up to the high side. He's going to slide back now to fourth. He's opening up the door here for Jordan Harnish. Harnish right on his back bumper. Harnish now looking to the inside for that spot. And what about the number 8 of McKee? He's had a good run here tonight. Qualified 16th, now up almost into the top 5 in that number 8 machine. A couple weeks back, he had a fantastic run in the American Sim Racing Series All-Star Invitational that we had at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Had a couple of real-life NASCAR drivers in that race as well. And he's putting on a pretty good show here tonight in that number 8 machine, as Will Warser starting to drop back here. He's now slid back to 8th. I'm just thinking that maybe that damage has affected that Slice Perky Pints machine, much like Troy Haight. Haight dropping like a stone now. Haight almost back to 10th, as the field just shuffling him back through the field. He's stuck on that high line as well. That's not where you want to be. A lot of the grip around this racetrack here in iRacing is down right on the bottom of the racetrack. You almost have to flirt with the apron to find grip around this racetrack. You can diamond the turn number 3 and 4, but turn number 1 and 2, really, you gotta try and get down to that dark gray stripe as quick as you can and try and stay down there, as we have a battle for the race lead brewing once again. The number 7, John Jenkins, right behind the number 51 machine. And what about Clarence Bonham there in the number 99? I mentioned him before he went back to green flag. I said he didn't have any damage from that last accident on that number 99 machine. Is he going to be in the catbird seat? I don't really know, but looks like Greg Renz has returned. And Greg, hopefully we got all the connection issues sorted out, but you haven't missed much, because we went back to green flag racing after that big kerfuffle on the backstretch.
Seeing that Mitch Brown right now is having his way with the field, but don't look now, because he's got a lot of drivers behind him as Battle's working his way through the field. Still trying to get my bearings about me, Peter, but looks like a pretty good show at the time being.
Yeah, great battle for the race lead. In fact, fantastic battle all throughout the top 6. Because Christopher, folks, in the number 46, we've mentioned his name a couple of times tonight. He's now plus 25 positions and knocking on the door for a top 5 spot here, as we have eclipsed the halfway mark. Just 71.5 miles around Miles the Monster left to go. We'll have to wait and see whether or not we kind of get a green flag run in again. It was just starting to look like we had a green flag run, a solid green flag run going. There was a bounty actually placed earlier this week by the officials here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series of a award to the top finishing driver with no incidents in a race that goes caution free. So that bounty will not be claimed tonight, unfortunately, because we've had a couple of cautions here in this race. But I'll tell you what, there is some fantastic racing going on around the racetrack, as Travis McDaniel's starting to work his way back up towards the front. He's worked his way around Christopher and now looking to the inside of Jimmy McKee.
Jimmy McKee in the number 8 car on your ticker, number 8 out there as well on the back of Travis McDaniel, who had such a strong run going in the early stages of the race, got up as high as second, has fallen back a little bit now. Work our way through. He's at 5th right now, going for 4th with a big move off of turn 2 inside of Harnish, and Harnish has to check up, and that's going to allow McKee to come in as well, bringing Stouffer with him with a run perhaps, but Harnish not going away on the outside. He's fighting back on the outside of McKee, but McKee will get it into turn number 1, and here comes Chris Stouffer trying to get that 46 car up yet another spot to get up to 6th. He's starting 31st. He's well inside the top 10 now.
Well, remember, Greg, Travis McDaniel got a little bit of right front damage when he made contact with the number 29 of Will Worsler probably about 30, 40 laps ago now. Well, now that all the cars in front of him have a little bit of damage too, he's now back on level playing field with the 51 and the number 7. So is that going to play into the hands of Travis McDaniel as he dives to the inside of Clarence Bonner, and the number 99 takes him easily. And now Travis McDaniel in the top 3 and closing in on your top 2.
So they are coming up through the field. John Jenkins still coming up. Travis McDaniel, though, closing in. Fastest car on the track. A lot of damage to the back, though, of John Jenkins in the 7. And how much is that affecting the number 7? Mitch Brown also with some damage on the back as well. And we're seeing right now, like you mentioned, the amount of damage on those cars is definitely slowing them down quite a bit, which is allowing McDaniel to close in. Travis McDaniel might be sitting pretty here before too long.
You know, one thing I'm a little bit interested to see is that the cars that came down pit road this last time, Jason Stewart, Jared Haggerty, none of those drivers really making any noise, any inroads on the cars in front of them. Stewart still down in 15th, Haggerty 16th, Timnot 17th. I'm wondering if maybe they just took tires, or just took fuel. Looking at Stewart, looks like he might have just taken fuel because he had a 6.2 second pit stop, so no tires on that car. Maybe trying to think about the long game, maybe thinking about maybe a green-white checker, trying to save some fuel to make it to the end from here. They should be able to make it all the way from this point for sure. They also have one more set of fresh tires, I do believe, here for the closing laps, so we'll have to see who of these drivers decide to play a little bit of the strategy game. There's the number 81 machine of Shane Parrish. Mentioned his name a little bit earlier. He's going to move inside the top 10 in the Serve Pro Ford, slowly but surely making his way towards the front of this field. He's got about 1.5 seconds up the road to the number 29 of Will Worsler right now. Great to see Serve Pro on that car. Of course, Serve Pro, one of the sponsors of the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. Got the Serve Pro Wheelman Showdown. Last week was round 4 at Talladega, and it was a fantastic finish. If you guys did not see the finish of last week's race, well, make sure to go tune into it after this one. Scroll to the end of that race because it was a few hairs between your race leader. Oh yeah, we do have a caution out. As I was mentioning that, we'll see what happened here. Looks like possibly Richard Fletcher on the number 43 was slow on the front stretch. Not quite sure if he was not the accident. It looks like Alex Giese in the number 77 machine and Jay Crable in the number 87 had it coming together. Coming out of turn number 1. There you see Giese all spun around. Just hasn't been the 77th tonight. Looks like he's got a Target duct tape to that car. Crable high in the number 87 machine. Oh, just hit the outside wall just a little bit. Bounced down into Giese, and it was on from there. Tough break for the 77 and the 87 there, but that will bring out the caution here with 60 laps to go.
The new livery definitely not working out the way Jake Crable wanted, as it's been an up and down night for him as well. Alex Giese, the 77, and it is definitely not gone his way, as that's about his 3rd incident that he's been involved with. 2nd to bring out the caution. Remember, he was the driver who spun around and did a 360 into the nose, nose into the wall, but did not bring out a caution. He was involved with Haggerty. He's on pit road now, and a lot of damage to the 77. He's already had to repair a lot already, and that's just going to be even more. Not the night that Giese won, that the 34 of Kelty Rogers has retired from the race as well.
Yeah, Kelsey Rogers definitely having a tough night, but we do have a couple cars coming down pit road. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out for those drivers who are down there right now. Alan Young, as well as Michael Krobach. A lot of those cars, I think, are just trying to get damage repaired. Cody Spiker and the number 19 as well on pit road. In fact, it looks like all those cars on pit road just getting as much damage repaired as possible. So we'll have to reset the field for you here in just a brief moment, but why don't we step away, get another quick word from our sponsors here in the Hacksaw PC series, and we'll be right back for the green flag.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
All right, folks, welcome back to Dover International Speedway, Dover, Delaware. The number 51 of Mitch Brown is your race leader. He's got a little bit of rear end damage on that car, as does the number 7 of John Jenkins. But those two cars have so far led every single lap here tonight as we're about to reach the final 2/3 of tonight's Dirty Bird Sim Racing 150. And Greg, we've seen a lot of pace out of this top 3 specifically, but do you think the race winner might come from outside this top 3?
It could be, just simply because of the amount of damage that specifically the top 2 are dealing with right now. Identical damage on the back end of those cars, the 51 and the 7, with a little bit of damage to the 65 as well. This race could come down to who has the cleanest race car at the end of it. We'll see how it goes with Clarence Bonner and Jimmy McKee running out the top 5. So here we go. Restart coming to lap 95. We're back underway.
Green flag is back in the air. A little bit of wheel spin from some of the cars up at the front, and that will stack things up. Luckily, they're all able to get rolling nice and neatly. No cars running into the back of one another. That's always good to see. Always very tricky.
Oh,
here
big
at
wreck
the
behind.
Oh, that is a big wreck. That must be the number 73 of Holstein, and they're still piling in. The 29 of Will Worsler involved back there. He was just on pit road to get some damage fixed. Ty Hester involved. The 88 has gotten involved. That, of course, is Ethan Adams. Let's see what happened back here. And the 73 and the 1 coming together. The 1 of Stewart. I remember he was on a slightly different fuel strategy in that number 1 machine. That isn't going to pan out because now he's smoking around the racetrack, just killing all the bugs that he can. Let's see this one more time from this camera angle because it happens quickly here at Dover. We mentioned that in the pre-race. We mentioned that a couple times, and look at Krobach, nowhere to go. Broussard in the 58 getting into the outside wall. Absolutely tough break, and a bunch of cars all wadded up on the backstretch.
It happens quick, and it happens big here at Dover. Miles the Monster is not shy when it comes to picking cars off the track, and there we see he gathers another one. Brandon Stokes, so you're on board with him right now in the 9. He went for a wild ride. So
Yeah, that's the
that
number
was
one.
Stewart, sorry. I saw the number 9 also go flying in the previous replay, so I thought that was him. My apologies on that one. Here we go on board with Will Worsler in the 29, who was up near the front for the beginning of the race. He catches the wall. I believe he got hit from behind, and it just pile drove him into the wreck there.
Very hard to see through these cars. I mean, you might hear that something's happening in front of you, but if you get on the brakes just a little bit and the car behind you just can't see through, you will be packed into that accident, and that's exactly what you saw right there. So Worsler, he is going to get that car rolling. He's going to be sitting on pit road, but definitely a tough break for Will Worsler. Started this race right up at the front, led a couple of laps early, and now that Slice Porcupine's number 29 sitting on pit road. Excuse me, Will Worsler never led a lap. He got very close to it, got right to the back bumper of the number 7 machine for the race lead, but he never did actually lead a lap in that race car, but now going to fall through the order here. And I do believe here, Greg, we're not going to have all too many cars on the lead lap when this is all said and done. Once we go back to green flag racing, looks like Worsler is going to try and stay on the lead lap by the fact that he's rolling back out onto the racetrack. But that is definitely not going to be the way he wanted to have this race end. Let's see if we can dial up driver of the number 46 machine, Chris Stouffer. He's had a good run going here tonight. Qualified up near the front, or qualified near the back, but he got his way up to the front. Chris Stouffer, Peter Short, 3YTV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, gotcha.
Well, man, I'll tell you what, you qualified back in 31st, but you got your way up into the top 10 pretty early. You've been one of the biggest movers in this race. Just how have you done it?
I've just been biding my time, really, and taking what was given to me, trying not to force it too much, and just play it.
Well, currently you have gained 23 spots from where you started here, and laps are continuing to wind down. How do you think you're going to break into the top 5 and have a run at these points?
Well, it's going to come down to this last stop for tires. Just whenever everybody does that, then I think it's going to be game on, and probably going to have to avoid some people because it's getting pretty racy up here. But it's going to be fun, so hopefully I can find my way.
All right, well, the pace truck lights are off, so we'll let you get back to it, but best of luck here in the closing laps.
Thank you.
All right, Christopher will be restarting from the 8th position, just to the outside of Doug Mullins in the number 18. And I'll tell you what, Greg, we've seen Doug Mullins almost be involved in some of the chaos here tonight, but a pretty clean-looking number 18 machine. We'll have to see what he can do in the closing laps.
Yeah, very good run for Doug Mullins in the Slice Porcupines, number 18, one of the Will Worsler entry cars. He's actually now the highest scored Will Worsler entry in the field right now, currently sitting in the 7th position. We'll start on the inside of row number 4 as we get set to come to green flag. He's done a great job negotiating through the problems here at Dover to get up into that position, and we'll see how he's able to carry it through here in the final third of this race.
All right, well, the question for the chat will be, how many more laps until we get a caution flag? Make your prediction right now, because we're about to go green on lap number 100, so it'll be easy to remember who gets this one right, or who gets closest to it, because the green flag is in the flag man's hand, and the number 51 down and away. A couple of cars getting wheel spin once again, checking up the front of the field, but everyone's clean and rolling into turn number 1. Good to see that once again. Jordan Harnish in the number 32 machine. He's going to move up into the 5th position. McDaniel from 4th up to 3rd, and we are back under caution. And Christopher Bouchard got it, folks. 0. We are back under yellow. Cody Spiker around on the backstretch in the number 19 Snap-on Chevrolet. Couple of other cars around too.
So 0 rounding down. Let's see what happened here. Ooh, some contact, and around they went. Ty Hester, others involved, but man, oh man, this has been a while.
I saw a couple of the Will Worsler racing machines back there. I think they all slowed down together. Looked like they were posing for a team photo. But let's go on board with Ty Hester here in the number 36 machine. Just a little bit of a nudge coming out of the corner. Good job to keep it going straight, and didn't hit all too much, all things considered. Got it going straight pretty much as well as he could. But that number 36 machine, you can see, definitely looking worse for wear. Looks like Will Warsler in the 29 machine, looks like he got another piece of it. Going a little bit backwards there. And there you go. That's the little team photo I was telling you about. The number 29, the 11, and the 43 all having a little photo shoot there on the back stretch once they got sorted out. Not the night Will Warsler Racing was looking for, although they do have one horse up inside the top 10. But Greg, let's see if we can possibly dial up one of the other drivers. Let's see if we can dial up. Let's see. Trying to figure out someone to dial up here for you guys. Let's see if we can dial up Jordan Harnish, who is up there near the front of the field. Jordan Harnish, Peter Shorten, 3 Wide TV booth. You got a copy?
10, folks.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're up inside the top 5. That number 32 machine, all things considered, looking pretty darn clean. I can tell you what, spoiler alert, a lot of the cars around you have a decent amount of damage. But having a clean car with under 50 laps to go, you think you have a shot at taking away the checkered?
We definitely got a shot at keeping in the top 5. I'm not sure if we got a chance for the win or not, depending on when we get the tires here.
Well, that has been the big talking point here tonight is tires, tires, tires. You know, I'm kind of surprised. The fall-off hasn't been as bad as I was expecting it to be. We've definitely seen it a lot worse over the years here in iRacing, but tell us a little bit how slippery this track is getting on the long run, especially these restarts.
These restarts are hairy. I've about run over the 99 twice in the last 2 restarts, so trying not to do that and trying to keep it as clean as we can. The track is definitely getting slipperier the more the tires get worn out and the longer we go here, but that kind of plays into my hand because more free it gets, the happier I am.
Well, definitely has been a fairly lengthy race up to this point. You know, 48 more laps to go. Kind of what's been your strategy in this race? Has it kind of been lay back, keep things nice and clean for the finish, or have you just been trying to stay up at the front as well as you can?
Honestly, my only goal today was to finish. Got wrecked out of Richmond. That kind of sucked. I thought I had a really good chance to win that race. And then last week at Talladega, blowing up with very little warning. 2 DNFs has really hurt the whole points game that I'm trying to play here. So just hoping for a really solid finish. I'd be happy if I keep it in the top 5. Obviously, we want to try to go win, but solid finish is all we're looking for today.
Yeah, good finish is what you need. Only one top 5 on the season coming back at Phoenix where you were runner-up. But hopefully you can come away with a good solid finish here tonight and move up the points and move a little bit in on the 20th spot in points. But as the pace truck lights have turned off, we'll let you get back to it, and best of luck. All right, well, folks, that was the number 32 of Jordan Harnish. And he's currently going to be restarting this race from the 5th position, right behind Travis McDaniel, who's been on a little bit of a move here recently. And I think that number 65 is going to be pretty quick here once we go back to green. Greg, I think the number 65 here is going to be the catbird seat because he's got less damage than the 2 cars in front of him, and he's been oh so fast tonight.
If we can get a run of about 5 or 6 laps, we'll really be able to see what that 65 has. The reason I say 5 or 6 is on the restart, it's going to be advantage Mitch Brown, as that inside lane is just so strong on the initial restart. He's able to pull away because he controls the restart. But once we get a few laps in, I really like what I see out of the 65 of McDaniel. So we'll see if they can get a long enough green flag run for McDaniel to get back up there and make some noise with Brown and Jenkins. As the race unfolds here, we're getting close to the end. Brown with damage, Jenkins with damage. We're getting set for another restart, and these drivers will be looking for some green flag laps here.
And speaking of green flag, there it is, back in the air, field rolling a little bit better than it did last time. I think these drivers are starting to learn the wheel spin and just how much they can put the pedal to the metal. When they go back to green flag with 46 more laps to go, going single file up towards the front. In fact, single file all the way back throughout the field, all the way back to Tony Schoen in 16th position. So this field already starting to just log some more laps, hopefully get a little bit more green flag running in, but Mitch Brown leading the way. There you see the number 17 of Stallings underneath the 41 of Tim Knott. This is back for the 13th position. Trying to keep an eye on if any of these drivers decided to come down and take tires under this last pit stop, because remember, they do have one more opportunity to do so. Caution is back in the air here at
Clarence
Dover.
Bonner smacked the wall off of turn number 4. And I'm not sure if that's what triggered the caution, but right before the caution came out, Clarence Bonner in the 99 absolutely plastered the wall.
There is the number 3 machine who is slow on the inside of the racetrack. That is James Lorello, who was multiple laps down. I do believe Lorello might have been involved in this accident. You see him just slowly working his way down. Let's see what happened. Getting word happened in turn number 3. Ooh, a little bit of contact there with the number 19 Cody Spiker. And it looked like Lorello might have clipped the wall on entry to the corner. Pretty easy to do here at Dover, just because of where your eyes are at this racetrack. You know, a lot of drivers say that you follow your eyes. Well, I'll tell you what, here at Dover, you're watching that apex so intensely that sometimes out of the corner of your eye, you just clip the outside wall, and Lorello clipped it, and there was really nowhere for Spiker to go but into the back bumper of that number 3 machine. And unfortunately, Lorello has taken that car to the garage and will be retired from this event in the 34th position. He was already multiple laps down. He's going to win the race off pit road. It will be the 51 machine of Mitch Brown. We do have some split strategies, though. John Jenkins, Travis McDaniel, Doug Mullins, Shane Parrish, 4 cars staying out here. And then a couple of other drivers, Richard Stallings, John Broussard, they pitted 11 laps ago. And then Will Worsler, Mitch Brown, Clarence Bonner, Jimmy McKee on back. Interesting to see some different strategies here. But that will give the race lead back to the number 7 machine of John Jenkins. And that's pretty interesting to see, Greg. Track position is oh so important, and now with so many cars coming down pit road, if John Jenkins decides to come down pit road later, he's going to lose a ton of track position.
Shane Parrish in the 81 was one of those drivers to come in. He is now coming down pit road, so the split strategy continues here as Parrish decides, you know what, I am going to pit. But this is interesting that we had a few drivers stay out here. We got 4 of them now that are being scored up in front of Mitch Brown, as Jenkins, McDaniel, Mullins, and Stallings are the 4 that stayed out there on this caution before we get set back up for a restart. So this is interesting. We're going to have 4 cars out there on very, very old tires, but maybe these are the drivers who are thinking, you know what, the way this race is going, might be able to make it the rest of the way because we just keep having caution after caution after caution. And I was getting ready to say before the pit stops happened that Mitch Brown and John Jenkins, they were benefiting from all these cautions because with the sheer amount of damage they have, all these caution laps and everything being so quick after the restart was helping them keep that track position with damage. We saw if they could get a long run that the cars without damage, Travis McDaniel, who has slight damage, Doug Mullins, and the 99 of Bonner, as well as other drivers, they were so much faster on the long run, but all those caution laps were keeping the 7 and the 51 up front with all that heavy damage. So wondering if that's what Jenkins is thinking, and he's going, hey, you know what? As long as we're staying under yellow as much as we are, I'm going to stay out there and try to hang on to this track position. And wondering if McDaniel, Mullins, and Stallings thinking the same thing with the sheer amount of cautions that we've had here through the middle stages of this race.
Absolutely. Well, how this race has turned on its head. Another page in the books here. Who will come home with a checkered flag here tonight? We have 41 more laps to go. You see Hacksaw PC down there at the bottom of your screen. I've heard nothing but good news from Hacksaw PC. They do have a new logo. Pretty cool logo at that. Go check them out. I've heard nothing but good news from them. Of course, if you're looking for a custom PC build, hit them up, because they can build just about any machine that you want. They do have some pre-built custom machines that you can just kind of order online, but if you want to customize them further, just hit them up and they can do so. Of course, the champion of the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series actually wins one of those PCs this year, so pretty cool prize at the end of this championship. but the pace truck lights are off, and the pace truck going to dive down onto pit road here. And all of a sudden, this race is about to erupt once again because John Jenkins, no fresh tires on the front 4 cars, and then a couple of laps fresher tires on the number 17, Richard Stallings. I believe he pitted under the last caution flag, so he doesn't have many laps on the number 17. And let's see what those fresher tires on the 17 can do. He's already on the back bumper of the number 65 of McNeil's, and here comes Richard Stallings for second. And we'll also have to keep an eye on some of the cars a little bit further back, like Mitch Brown, who have the even fresher tires than the number 17.
This may work out perfectly for Richard Stallings. Look at how much ground he was able to gain there through the start of that race, with Mitch Brown stuck in traffic and only gaining 1 spot since the restart. Stallings going to work on John Jenkins for the lead now. This may work out perfectly for the 17 if things go his way the rest of the race. He is putting all kinds of pressure on the 7 of Jenkins. We haven't talked about Richard Stallings all day, and here he is running second in what I think may be prime position here.
Richard Stallings making a good strategy move. He's still got a couple cars between him and the number 51 and Mitch Brown, but he needs to get around the number 7 of Jenkins as soon as he can, so he can put a little bit of ground between himself and Mitch Brown, as Mitch Brown's gotten around John Broussard. So move Mitch Brown on the freshest tires up into the 4th position, and there goes Richard Stallings, flashes in front of the number 7 machine. Stallings now leads here at Dover with just 37 laps to go.
All right, so now it's up to Stallings to see how far he can get ahead before Mitch Brown gets there. Brown in the 51 in 4th right now, feeling the pressure though from Broussard, not losing or not gaining a whole lot of ground. Behind him, the 99 of Bonner goes around, and Troy Hayes involved. Cody Spiker just barely got through, may have got collected, but the caution is out, and the driver who did not want to see that is the race leader, Richard Stallings.
No, Richard Stallings now going to have the number 7 of Jenkins all over his back bumper once again. Travis McDaniel, Mitch Brown, but that number 99 machine going up and around, getting a heavy amount of damage. The number 28 of Troy Haight, he had a little bit of damage from earlier. He had a great run going in the P&N Waterfilter Chevrolet. Doesn't look like he got much more damage on the number 28 machine though. We'll have to keep an eye on that, but a little bit of contact there with Jordan Harnish, and that number 99 of Bonner just spinning right round. Lots of damage, and once again we have another modified out there on the racetrack, Greg.
Modifieds aplenty here at Dover. It has been a race of attrition, and we talked about it. When it happens here at Dover, it happens fast and it happens big. And look at what's happening on pit road. The drivers who stayed out, Jenkins, McDaniel, and others coming in. So suddenly Richard Stallings' strategy, where it may have worked out earlier, now it's in big trouble because he's got the fresher tires of Mitch Brown directly behind him to his outside as they start, as the final few cars who did not pit under the last caution now pit. And Peter, they're going to be mired back there. I don't think they have enough time to get back up there.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see just how far John Jenkins falls in this field, even though he has a few lap fresher tires that really won't be all too many green flag laps, fresher tires, and he's going to be one of the last cars on the lead lap. We do have 22 cars on the lead lap as of right now. 21, excuse me, as Clarence Bonner's gone a lap down, but there goes JR Bash to be the 22nd car on the lead lap, so it all kind of irons out there. But Clarence Bonner, unfortunately, in the number 99 machine, he's going to be sitting on pit road for quite some time. Jordan Harnish will also be receiving a end of longest line penalty, so that'll be a tough hit from inside the top 5.
So definitely a big shakeup here. Jordan Harnish going to the back after the contact with Bonner. Peter, it's going to be an interesting...
Yeah, I'm curious to see if we can talk to a driver of the number 7 machine. That is John Jenkins, because he's going to be mired so far back in the field, whether or not he thinks he can get back up to the front. John Jenkins, Peter Short in the 3YTV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've led a good portion of this race, been up there inside the top 5 for basically all of it, but now you're going to find yourself mired back in the pack around the 15th position or so. Do you think you have enough time to get back up there towards the front?
I don't know. Just kind of see what we can do here. I wasn't expecting that many cars to go down pit road last time, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see. Kind of, I'm kind of like you. I was in the same boat. I was expecting to see drivers save the tires till 15, 20 to go, but now you're going to be back in 15th. Hopefully you can make your way back up into the top 5. You've been fast all day. We'll definitely be watching that number 7, the Max Pappas Innovations machine, working its way forward.
Yep, should be fun. Let's see if we can get through the traffic here.
All right, well, that is driver of the number 7 machine, John Jenkins, of course, one of the momentum drivers here today. Really good run for pretty much all of them today. Kind of not have the best race of sorts, but definitely been a pretty solid race for the momentum sim racing drivers. Of course, Travis McDaniel, the number 65, he's in the same boat as John Jenkins, so we'll have to see how far he can get through the field as well. And that number 65, they'll be restarting 15th and 16th respectively. But pace truck lights are off. We're about to go back to green flag racing. And now, question for the chat. How many laps until we have another caution, or will this be the last one of the day? Clarence Bonner saying a little bit of net code there, and definitely a little bit of net code has been out there on the racetrack tonight for sure. TWS GNSLR saying go Jersky. Bouchard once again going with 0. We'll see whether or not that holds true, but we will only have 31 laps to go when we go green here, Greg.
No doubt Richard Stallings is hoping for 0 because he wants as many opportunities to keep the 51 at bay as he can get as we get set to come up. A lot of damage up front, but man, one guy who we've been talking about all day, Chris Stouffer, he's up in the top 5 for the first time tonight as the pit stop cycle through. We're right back to green flag racing. Stallings with a good restart, able to get up in front of Brown.
Yeah, great restart for that number 17 machine. That's what he needs to see. Now he needs to stay there, use that clean air to his advantage, and try and put a little bit of distance between himself and Mitch Brown. Jimmy McKee sliding up into 3rd. What a great run this has been for Jimmy McKee. John Broussard at number 53, a few laps older tires, but he's up there in the top 5. Chris Stouffer, we've highlighted his run up into the top 5 a couple times here tonight as he has got himself up into 5th. And Sam Crow in the 02, he's one of those drivers that we've overlooked tonight, but he's up 31 positions so far, the biggest mover in tonight's field. There he is, the ICB on the hood. Great looking paint scheme. I love the bright green that just pops on the side of that car. Gotta say, there's a lot of limited modifieds and just really all types of dirt cars that have that neon green that just pops under the lights. That Sam Crow is sporting here tonight, so I really like that paint scheme on that car. Troy Hay in the number 28 machine, he got a piece of that last accident, but he's running in 7th. Tim Knott, we talked to him prior to the beginning of the race. Dirty Bird Sim Racing sponsoring tonight's event, and he is now in 8th. Jared Haggerty, one of the other Dirty Bird Sim Racing drivers, 9th. He's been involved in accidents. Cody Spiker in 10th. He's been involved in accidents. So boy, oh boy, this race is going to be pretty interesting to see whether or not Richard Stallings can hold off and whether or not we see any extra cautions. Both Christopher Bouchard and Aunt Kathy, you're both wrong. We both made it more than a lap, so that's good news. Hopefully we can say caution-free to the end, Greg.
Mitch Brown is beginning to reel in Richard Stallings, and this is what we talked about. The longer the run went, the more and more Mitch Brown was going to have the advantage. But look who's hanging in the 3rd spot behind him, Jimmy McKee. In the 8, not going away, and caution is out. And Stallings is going to be able to for a little bit longer. Parrish involved as well, the 88 of Ethan Adams. Couple of cars around on the front stretch.
And that is a tough break for Shane Parrish. He kept that number 81 machine pretty much clean all night long. A little bit of a nudge there with the number 18 machine. And Doug Mullins and the 81 having that coming together. Unfortunately for the 81, looks like he's going to get the worst of it. Ethan Adams in the 88 machine also going for a spin in the number 88 machine. That's kind of a spin cycle. So there you go. You see that little bit of contact, the 81 hard up in the outside wall. Look at John Jenkins just scooting through in the number 7 machine. We just had a word with him. I'm sure that's not what he wanted to see. But caution flag once again up in the air here at Dover International Speedway.
Shane Parrish has said that, hey, that one was on me, but we see the replay on board with Jenkins. Just getting through. Great job by Jenkins to get through, but Shane Parrish has accepted responsibility for that incident there as we go on board with Doug Mullins here, Peter.
Yeah, and I think what Parrish is thinking is he was trying to get down there on that inside groove and just barely clip the nose of the number 18 machine. Unfortunately, that is what brings out the caution. But boy, oh boy, it's going to be a shootout here. Who's going to make it to the end? And can Richard Stallings hold on in that number 17 machine? We've seen the 51 lead a good portion of tonight's event. But Mitch Brown, but Stallings, slightly older tires, but not a scratch on that number 17 machine. You look at a lot of the cars in the field here, Greg, they all have some type of nick on them, but that number 17 machine is nice and clean the way it started tonight's race. And I'm sure if you were to talk to Richard Stallings, he'd say, hey, that's one of the reasons I got up to the front. I kept my car clean. And I'm sure he will be very happy to finish that way, especially if he gets to go to victory lane here in the closing laps. Doing a quick check to see if I can see that number 17 machine here in the channels that we have and see if we can dial up some of the drivers. But unfortunately, Richard Stallings not one of the drivers in our channels. But definitely a great strategy call for that number 17 for sure there, Greg.
And I was watching him on that green flag run. He was keeping the 51 at bay. Mitch Brown wasn't really able to gain ground or lose ground for that matter, but they were running pretty equal lap times there. I liked what I saw out of the 17 there. So maybe the extra tires that Brown has is equalized by the damage that Brown has, and maybe that could play into Stallings' advantage here in the closing stages if he can get away from Brown once again. They may be equal standings in the tires on the 51 combined with the damage on the 51. That may be the equalizer here.
It very well might be. It very well might be. I mean, I'm kind of curious to know if Mitch Brown has any optional damage on that number 51 machine that he might have when he came down pit road last, and if he decided to not repair that race car, or whether or not there's none. There's no damage to repair. There's obviously physical damage on the race car from the earlier contact on the entry into turn number 4, but you know, it might be playing around with that car. It might not be. It might not be affecting it as much as we think. iRacing can be a little bit finicky when it comes to just how much damage affects these race cars. Obviously, there's a whole bunch of damage visually on that race car, but it might not be affecting the car at all. Who knows? iRacing can kind of be a roll of the dice sometimes, but I tell you, Mitch Brown right up there in the second position. We'll have to see whether or not he can go to victory lane once this is all said and done. Jimmy McKee running in third. He's another one of those drivers, not a scratch on his race car. Kept his lawn care number 8 nice and clean. Christopher running up in fourth now. Got around John Broussard before that caution flag came out. Broussard slightly older tires. A little bit more damage on that number 53. But he's used a little bit of strategy to get up there into the top 5. Keeping an eye on the number 18... the number 7 and the number 65, two of those drivers who stayed out a little bit longer to come down and get fresh tires. Well, McDaniels worked his way up into 12th. John Jenkins still back in 14th, so Jenkins gained 1 spot. McDaniel gained 4 spots on that last restart. We'll have to see if they can pick up some more. As the pit truck lights are off, we're going to have the 1 to green here. And lots of drivers with damage. Gonna be interesting to see how it all plays out and whether or not some of these drivers up towards the front with damage and a little bit of a strategy move, whether or not they'll hold up a couple of cars might lead to some more chaos mid-pack. That's always fun and exciting when that happens. If you're one of those drivers who are catching a slower car rapidly, having to slam on the gas. We've already seen that happen once here tonight where the number 29, Will Worsler, had to slam on the brakes to get around the other car. I just realized I said slam on the gas, but now they can slam on the gas. Oh, look at Troy Haight at the 28, getting all about a shape, getting a little bit of wheel spin. That's going to put Tim Knott in the middle, and that is not where you want to be. as he is going to slide back in that number 41, back behind the number 6 Haggerty. There goes the 0-2 Synchro around, and we got hard contact at the 0-2. And there's John Jenkins in the 7 involved. I saw Travis McDaniel in the number 65 involved as well. And we are back under caution. Christopher Bouchard, I didn't ask the question. Christopher Bouchard said 0 is my guess again. Well, you got it for the second time here tonight. That was a huge wreck. Jordan Harnish involved. Boy, oh boy, quite a few cars involved here, Greg.
All right, that's 2 for Bouchard. He's out of the running for the rest of the way. But yeah, let's see what happened here on the restart. You see the slide there in the middle of the pack, and another case of it happens fast and happens big here at Dover. And this one took out quite a few drivers who we were keeping a very close eye on, the likes of McDaniel and Jenkins, and 2 very, very fast cars caught up in that as well. We go on board here with John Jenkins.
You know, one thing I really hate about this is this was all net code. There was a little bit of contact between the 6 and the number 19, but there was a full car width between the 02 and the 19 almost. And Sam Crow just got out of nowhere, turned up into the outside retaining wall, which is not what you want to see. There you go. You see that net code right there. And unfortunately for the 02, just the wrong end of the stick. The number 6 machine getting a good lick with the outside retaining wall. John Jenkins able to get sorted out and get pointed back in the right direction. Brad Lee, I think, in the number 14 machine also got a piece of that. Haven't mentioned Brad Lee much here tonight, but he's up inside the top 20 in that number 14 machine. There's Jordan Harnish getting a piece of it. He almost was through it when that number 32 was thrown up into the outside retaining wall. So, you know, next week is Martinsville, Greg, but these race cars looking like they've just come from the half-mile paperclip.
Yeah, nice little dress rehearsal here for the paperclip next week, Peter, as I'm expecting to see quite a few more cars looking worse for wear next week when we hit up the very, very tight paperclip at Martinsville. And I know a lot of drivers really love that racetrack, Peter, and it's going to be very exciting next Tuesday night when we come live from Virginia at the virtual Martinsville Raceway, one of the oldest tracks, I believe the oldest track in the NASCAR circuit in real life. So definitely going to be fun to see how that goes on here in the ASRS Premier Series and night race next week at Martinsville under the lights.
Yeah, going to be cool to see Martinsville under the lights for the first time here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series here in the iRacing Simulator. It's going to be super, super cool. Just released today, and we'll be using it next week. So really looking forward to that. We got Jay Crable, War Turtle Racing in the chat. Jay, sorry your race didn't go to plan, but we do have one of the Glassdoor Brewing races next week. Looking forward to see that. Of course, Glassdoor Brewing also jumping on board for a couple of extra Cup Series races than what they originally signed up for, so that's pretty cool to see. In fact, all of the drivers who win the Glassdoor Brewing races, as long as they are of legal age, they're going to get a sampler of Glassdoor Brewing's beers. I think that's super cool. And we're all of us asking up here in the booth, where are our samplers? I would take one for sure.
Absolutely. I think we're going to have to send a message there and be like, hey, where's ours? As we get set to go racing here, Peter, because after a race like this, I think some adult beverages, if you're over the legal age, which all of us here in the booth are at least, I believe that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I would take a little beverage up here for sure right now in the 3-wide TV booth, but I will also take some green flag action, which is what we will see now in just one lap time. And number 17, right up at the front, Richard Stallings, and the lap count is winding down. I think Mitch Brown's going to have to start thinking about, hey man, I really got to try and get in the lead, because if we see caution after caution after caution, there might not be many green flag laps left in this race.
Yeah, Richard Stallings might be the big benefactor of all these cautions. And we talked about that a couple of cautions ago, that he was sitting in prime position if things worked out his way. We mentioned Mitch Brown getting through the field quicker than Stallings was hoping for, but Stallings has still been able to catch those cautions. So he still may be good right now. It will be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Green flag in the flagman's hand. Field coming down at 45 miles an hour. Richard Stallings in the number 17. Will he have any wheel spin on this restart? He gets him up to speed nice and neatly. You see a little bit of a stack up there towards the back of the pack. The damage number 41 of Tim not really slowing down some of the cars back there. But we stay green. No cars spinning as of yet. That's good news as we've made it through turn number 1 and 2. Halfway down the back stretch is the back half of the field. They're still shuffling things out, but up at the front, number 17 of Stallings. But here comes the 51. Huge run coming out of turn number 4. Mitch Brown looking for the race lead here.
Wow, Stallings shut the door, but Mitch Brown forces his way in there. Mitch Brown back to the lead, but here comes Jimmy McKee, who we talked about last run was hanging with these two. Now he's able to go after Stallings for the second spot. Mitch Brown back to the race lead, but it is not over as Jimmy McKee to the inside now of Stallings. And McKee has been just as strong as Stallings and Brown. And how about Chris Stouffer up in fourth, sorry.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, that number 51's got a little bit of clean air on the nose, and it has said, see ya later, guys. Mitch Brown already up to 8/10 of a second lead up at the front. He has checked out on this battle for a second. Stallings trying to hold off Jimmy McKee and Chris Stouffer. And what about Troy Haight? Remember, we wrote off Troy Haight a little bit earlier ago in this race. We said that, oh man, he fell from second all the way back to about 16th like a rock. Well, now he's getting underneath the number 46 of Stouffer, trying to go for the 4th position. And what a race this has been. What a roller coaster ride for Troy Haight. And there's Will Worsler in the number 29 machine. He's back up inside the top 10 in the 8th position. It's been a roller coaster ride for him. So all of a sudden, this race turning for some of these drivers, turning for the good. But I'll tell you what, turning for the good is an understatement for Mitch Brown. He's checked out to a huge lead as Jimmy McKee just smacked the outside retaining wall coming up to turn number 4.
Jimmy McKee had just gotten around Richard Stallings and now smacked the wall, so all that progress he had made might have just gone out the window. We'll see how much damage the number 8 car has. Troy Haight has gotten around Stallings for the 3rd spot. And how about John Broussard in the 53? He's putting the pressure on Stouffer trying to get into the top 5. And he was another one that we thought may have been done for the day with the amount of damage he had. He just got up into the top 5. Getting around Stouffer. Doug Mullins closing back in as well. So now it's been the case of the drivers who didn't keep their car clean, but drivers who were relentless with damage getting themselves back in and not letting it get to them and getting themselves willed back into it as the drivers continue to work their way down. We're inside 10 to go, but I think Mitch Brown may be ringing the dinner bell right now because he is pulling away from Jimmy McKee and company. 1.3 seconds the margin this time. We'll see what it is this time by. Stays the same, so Brown and McKee holding steady right now as you're on board, I believe, with 3rd place. Troy Haight in the 28, trying to reel in Jimmy McKee. Slow cars down on the inside. Troy Haight in the 28, trying to get up there. What a recovery for him. At one point, that 28 car was the fastest car on the racetrack.
Yeah, Troy Haight sitting in 3rd. Here comes the number 18, Doug Mullins, to the inside of Chris Stouffer. This is a battle for the 5th position. Mullins will drive it down there to the inside, take that spot nice and neatly. We'll see if Mullins can catch up to John Broussard, who's literally right in front of him, as they now will have 6 laps to go at the line this time by.
Closing stages of the race. Mitch Brown pulling away. Good battle going on back here as Broussard and Mullins battling it out for the 4th position. Doug Mullins, another one who has done a great job keeping it clean for the most part and getting himself back up into the top 5 when it counts. Trying to get one more spot away from John Broussard. Meanwhile, the battle for 2nd beginning to heat up on your screen. Troy Haight beginning to close back up on Jimmy McKee once again.
You know, this is going to be a very interesting points night, Greg, because you do have your points leader, John Jenkins. He's making a move for the 9th position. Coming into tonight, Mitch Brown was 2nd place in points, and if Mitch Brown comes away with the win, he's going to eat in to the number 7's point lead, and it's also going to be a pretty interesting night for the battle for the top 20 in points. Edward Bray came into tonight 18th in points. Well, that number 66 did make tonight's race. You have drivers like Tony Schoen, who haven't had the best of nights in the number 33 machine, as we have a side-by-side battle for second now. Troy Haight has caught Jimmy McKee, and Haight's just going to go underneath him with return number 1 and 2. Troy Haight now up to second, and I was going to say, this is a big night for Troy Haight. Mullins now up into 4th, because Troy Haight hasn't had the best of the seasons going, all things considered. And so for Troy Haight to come away with a second place here tonight, I don't think he's going to run down your race leader. I'm sure he's going to see that as a win, because he just hasn't had great luck this season. He came into tonight 16th place in points, which is so important to stay above that 20th spot threshold, as the white flag is in the air here at Dover, Delaware. John Jenkins trying to take 8th position on the white flag, coming to the white flag lap, away from the number 17 of Richard Stallings. Stallings is actually outside of the top 20 in points. He needs this good run to try and get himself closer to the 20th place. That would lock him into next week's race. But this man right here, the number 51, comes out of the final corner, sees the checkered flag, and Mitch Brown goes back to victory lane into Hacksaw PC's Premier Series.
Outstanding performance by Mitch Brown, and waited for the right opportunity to get around Stallings and took it and punched it and got her did. Mitch Brown, your winner at.
Got her done for sure here at Dover, Delaware. And that number 51 of Mitch Brown, victory lane once again. He's been getting close in that number 51 machine. Hasn't gone to victory lane so far this season, but that drought ends tonight as he burns it down here on the front straight. Nope, and just has to make sure it's legal by smacking the inside wall on the Patriot Media and Marketing number 51. I'm sure he'll be oh so happy to get back to victory lane. So far this year for Mitch Brown, hasn't made it to victory lane, but has had a great year coming into tonight with 6th place back at Talladega, 5th place at Richmond, 4th place at Bristol. You could just tell that he's been knocking on the door here over the last couple of weeks, getting a little bit of help from the number 6, Jared Haggerty. Gonna give him a little bit of a nudge here down the backstretch, a little bit of congratulations there from the Cheerwine machine. A little bit of a Polish victory lap as well as he runs around the racetrack backwards. Of course, one of the Dirty Bird Sim Racing drivers getting the win in the Dirty Bird Sim Racing 150 here tonight, so that's pretty cool. We'll get to hear a word from Mitch Brown here in just a little bit, but we'll let him celebrate, do what he needs to. We'll come back with some top 3 finisher interviews here from a very interesting race at Dover International Speedway.
Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the number 1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
All right, folks, welcome back to Dover International Speedway. Very interesting race here tonight. Kind of a wild one, a precursor to what is to follow next week at Martinsville in the Glassdoor Brewing 200. But I'll tell you what, some drivers just played the strategy just right here tonight. They were able to weather the storm and come away with a good finish. And one of those drivers is the number 8 machine of Jimmy McKee, and I've caught up with him right here. Jimmy, man, great run for you here tonight. Definitely showed a lot of pace. You kept that number 8 machine nice and clean. Tell us a little bit about your race.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we had a good run. Finally, had a rough go around at Talladega last week, so we really needed this today. But I wish I had a 5th tire to try and catch Mitch. But it is what it is. But it was fun.
Yeah, Dover is one of those racetracks you never really know what you're going to get because it is such a difficult racetrack. When things happen, they happen very fast. But you were able to see the lucky side of Dover here today. Miles the Monster must be your friend here today because a lot of the action happened around you, but you were just kind of able to avoid all of it. Tell us, was that your strategy to just kind of lay back and avoid the chaos and come away with this thing with a good finish? Or do you think you just had the pace to stay up there in the top 5 the whole race?
I don't know. I felt like I had a pretty good pace to try and get up front. We definitely had some close calls. I think the first couple cautions were right in front of us, and we just didn't know whether we should go low or go high. But luckily, I went high on both of them, I think, and was able to escape. But it was once we got past those two, the rest of the race was pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see some different strategies there towards the end. What was your logic in taking the final set of tires when you did?
I just figured, just the way the cautions were flying, I figured we were going to get more and more, and which we did. So I was going to do whatever the leaders were doing. So when I saw Mitch and a couple of the other guys that were up front pit, I was like, I'm going to pit because I guarantee we're going to get more cautions, and then the other guys who stay out, we're going to pit and we're going to make those back up. And we did, luckily, and got a good finish out of it.
Yeah, great finish for you and that number 8 machine here tonight. You know, good run at this point in the season. You were just outside of the top 10 coming into tonight in points. This should pole vault you into the top 10 in points. Tell us a little bit about, you know, how important is it to get a little bit of momentum here in the middle portion of the season?
It means everything. Need to get all we can get to ensure that we're in the, top 12, top 10, top 12 for the chase. We want to make sure we're there. So hopefully we can get our teammates Kelsey and Cody to get good runs so they can get in the top 10 as well. They've had some bad luck, but hopefully we can get them in the right direction.
Great run here tonight. Martinsville is next week. We're going to Martinsville at night. I know I'm excited about that. What are your thoughts about the paperclip?
It's one of my favorite tracks. So as long as we can keep her clean, it should be a fun race.
Should be a great show. Before we let you go, you got any shout outs for us?
Just want to thank y'all for the broadcast. You all do a really, really good job. Happy to have you on board. Definitely Hacksaw PCs, all the sponsors we have in this league, Glassdoor Brewing. Give a shout out to my own sponsor, McKee Lawn Care. So just want to thank all y'all, and yeah.
All right. Well, Jimmy, best of luck next week at Martinsville, and we'll see you there.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
All right. Well, I do believe that Mr. Greg Rentz has caught up with the second place finisher, and he had a roller coaster of a night there. Troy Haight. There, Greg.
Yeah, Troy, hey, how was that roller coaster ride for you with the second place finish?
Yeah, it was up and down, and I was up there and then went back and had some damage get fixed. And
Well, Troy, it was definitely an up and down night. At one point, you were the fastest car on the racetrack before the incident happened, but you did not let that get to you. You just put your head down, worked your way back through, and that had to be really, really good for you to get a second place finish after everything that happened tonight.
yeah, when I was back to 15, I didn't think I was going to be able to get it back up there, but had those cautions and got good, better restarts than usual, and was able to get back up there.
Well, Troy, tell us what was going through your head there at the end of that race with the last few cautions, and the more and more cautions came out, the more and more you realized that you were making ground through the field and trying to get back up into the top 5 before you were eventually able to get around Jimmy McKee for the second spot. Tell us what was going through your mind on that last pass.
Yeah, well, I saw Mitch get out there. Little, I didn't think I was going to get to him, but I didn't get to him. Ran out of time, and Jimmy gave me some room there, but ran out of laps.
Well, Troy, it was definitely an up and down race, but a very, very strong outing for you. Started 6th, finished 2nd, and a good finish for you going into Martinsville next week, which no doubt is going to be a very, very tough.
Yeah, Martinsville isn't too good over the years for me, but maybe some extra practice will, be good for me.
All right, well, Troy Haight, a 2nd place, and I know you've been waiting a long time to give some shout-outs, so here's your shot. Who you got?
Yeah, I want to thank P&N Water Filters. Say hi to friends and family watching. World Turtle Racing. Jay and Nick and all the guys, and Ethan. It turned in, just kind of went my way a little bit. Didn't get any wrecks like usual.
All right, 2nd place, Troy Haight. Great job out there this afternoon.
Thanks, and thanks to the broadcast guys. You guys do a good job.
And that's 2nd place, Troy Haight. And Peter, you are down in victory lane with a guy who just picked up his first points-paying win of the season.
I have made it down to victory lane, and Mr. Miles the Monster is smiling over the number 51 machine because it was not clear of all the damage. You got a little bit of rear end damage here today, and that's exactly what Miles the Monster loves to see. Another little bit of smashed up car. But I'll tell you what, Mitch, you made it to victory lane, your first win of the season here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, at least points paying event. You did win the All-Star Invitational a couple of weeks back, but you're the reigning series champion. You're closing in little by little on the points lead once again. Tell us a little bit about your race.
Yeah, we just kind of just took it. We tried to at least our strategy was to pit at least lap 50 and 100. But especially those cautions definitely changed things out. But no, we had a pretty uneventful race except for the low damage we got in the rear end. But it wasn't too bad. I mean, I made out here with a almost clean car, so I can say that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that call to come down pit road when you did was definitely the game changer that was able to kind of give you the opportunity to get away from the number 7 and the number 65. They were on your heels for most of this race. But what was going through your head? Was it, I'm now past the 100 lap marker, I want to get down pit road? Or what was going through your head when you decided to head down pit road?
Well, when we pitted for that first set of tires, we the second set we had, we were just gonna try to, ride and try to save as much as we can. And, especially with all those quick cautions, we really didn't decide to pit until we at least went a couple green flag laps on our tires. So that's why we pitted after most of the guys. And it helped out because most of the field pitted with us when we pitted, and when the 7 and 65 pitted, they didn't have a lot of people come down with them, so they kind of got stuck in the back of the pack, and they had to work their way through the field much harder than I did.
Absolutely, it was definitely a great call that you made, and it's pretty cool to see a Dirty Bird Sim Racing machine in victory lane in the Dirty Bird Sim Racing 150. So pretty cool to see that, I gotta say. But now that you're second in points, going into Martinsville next week, what are your thoughts about going to Martinsville at night?
I mean, it's Martinsville. Just gotta make it through the first 60-70% of the race, and hopefully it's clean. It's probably not. because Martinsville's always a disaster, especially when you stick 40 of us on the track. It's just so hard to keep any clean cars left. But no, we definitely needed this one tonight. It definitely felt good to finally win. It took us, we should have at least had a couple wins this year. Vegas was one of them. We let that slip away. Atlanta was another one. It definitely felt good to win here here at Dover. But Martinsville, you just it's kind of one of those wild card tracks. You flip a coin, see what happens, and you get out there, get out of there unscathed. It's good. If not, you just gotta regroup and go to the next race.
Well, I'm very much looking forward to that coin flip. It's going to be a good one. Same place, same time here on 3 Wide TV next week. But before we let you go, Mitch, you got any shout-outs for us?
Yeah, gotta thank Tim for sponsoring this race. Help putting Dirty River Sim Racing on the map with the sponsorship of the race. I always gotta thank the sponsors. Gotta thank Patriot, Splash and Go, Checker Flag PCs, Hacks, Hacks, Nick for sponsoring the league, Hacksaw PCs. And I gotta thank my new sponsor, Glassdoor Brewing. We are going to run a Glassdoor Brewing car sometime in the future. We haven't made a formal announcement yet, but it will be coming soon. So look out for that in the league page. But other than that, I gotta thank you guys for putting on this race. You guys saw a good race tonight. It wasn't really that caution filled, maybe towards the end, but a caution creates caution, so that happens. But that's pretty much it.
I'll tell you what, you had Checkered Flag PCs in the chat, and they said, "Better thank me, Mr. Brown," and you did. You nailed it. So good job there. Always got to make those sponsors happy. But best of luck next week at Martinsville. It will be a fun and exciting race, that's for sure. And we'll see you then.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, that was your race winner, the number 51 of Mitch Brown. And there was some fantastic runs to the finish. I'm not quite sure if we'll be able to capture the run to the finish that Adam Jersky and the number 7 of John Jenkins had, but it was a side-by-side beating and banging photo finish for the 9th position between those two. Adam Jersky finally took that spot from John Jenkins on the last lap. They were held up behind the number 17 of Richard Stallings. And here we go. This is the battle for 5th position between Doug Mullins and John Broussard. And no, excuse me. This is back for 5th between John Broussard and Will Worsler. Excuse me. And Worsler was able to dive to the inside of the number 53 machine. Not enough, though. A little too late for the number 29, but great bounce back for Will Worsler tonight with all that damage on the nose. Now let's go. And this is the battle now between the 7 and the 71. So I think this might actually be past the start-finish line. Let's see if we can go back maybe a little bit further. Here we go, dialing this up for you guys in the chat asking for this replay. So you can see that the number 7, John Jenkins, all over the back bumper of the number 17 machine of Richard Stallings. And here we go on board with Adam Jersky and the Beef Jersey's Cheesecakes machine. And a little bit of connection issues, it looks like, right there on the last lap. But watch the number 7. Tries to go around the outside of the number 17, and all of a sudden, poof, there's the number 71. They make contact coming out of the final corner, and Jersky takes the spot side by side across the line. Only 0.05 of a second between Jersky and John Jenkins, rounding out your top 10, those two cars. But I'll tell you what, Greg, I think there's not much between those two cars. Let's see this one more time. On board with the 71 machine. Boom. 9th spot for him. Great run. And great finish between those two cars. But I think it's about time for us to go through the final race results. And Greg, why don't you take it away?
Mitch Brown, the All-Star Showdown winner, gets his first points-paying win of the season at Dover by 2.809 seconds over second place Troy Haight with a great charge through the field. After getting damage to finish second, Jimmy McKee rounds out the podium. Doug Mullins, the highest finishing Will Worsler racing car, and that's got to feel good for them to still get a top 5 after everything that happened today. John Broussard, Will Worsler, the battle we saw the replay just there for 5th and 6th. Christopher, outstanding run for the 46, got up as high as 4th. after starting 31st on the day. He comes home with a 7th place. Richard Stallings, the strategy just needed probably one more caution for it to really work out, but he will settle for an 8th position after leading some laps late. Adam Jersky and John Jenkins round out the top 10, Peter.
Alan Young in the number 24 machine, he needed a good run because he came in tonight just 2 points behind Tony Schoen in the 20th points position, and that 20th point spot, that's what you need to be locked into the show. He will move in front of the number 33 machine after this one is all said and done. Finishing in 12th spot, Travis McDaniel had a great run going. Jared Haggerty in the number 6 machine will come home 13th. Bradley in the number 14 comes home in 14th. Right behind him, Richard Fletcher. What a bounce back it was for the number 43 machine. Had the front torn off very early on and finishing 15th. Brandon Stokes coming home 16th. J.R. Bash 17th. He was a lap down early in the race, got that back and came away with a decent finish. Sam Crow had a great run going in that 0-2, got turned around late, finishing 18th. Jordan Harnish in 19th. He was very fast early in the race. Pete Baskins coming home 20th, rounding out your top 20 there, Greg.
Yeah, 18 cars finishing on the lead lap here tonight, Peter. Rolling off 21st was Tim Knott in the number 41. He finishes in the 21st position, 3 laps down. Ty Hester in his return, not the way he wanted it to go. A couple of incidents results in a 22nd place finish. Mark Myers, Cody Spiker, who was running so strong in the early going, but again, multiple incidents happening to him as well, puts him 24th. Tyler Seville, another Will Worsler Racing entry, 25th. Ethan Adams, Shane Parrish, another driver who had a very, very strong run going, was working his way up into the top 10, will finish 27th after a late incident. Clarence Bonner also involved in an accident, 28th. Tony Schoen in the 33, 29th, and rounding out the top 30 was the number 1 of Jason Stewart.
Rounding out your 37-car grid here tonight. In the 31st position is Michael Krobach, Jonathan Holstein coming home 32nd, Jay Crable 33rd, James Lorello 34th, Alex Giese 35th, Alex Giese 35th, I can't remember if I said his name. Kelsey Rogers comes home 36th, Michael Whitings come home in 37th, and unfortunately Brian Yazik was not able to make the start of the race after some last-minute connection issue drama in the 55 HPPsimulation.com Ford. I'll tell you what, though, if there's any solace that Brian Yazik can have, it will be that he finished this race with a clean car. He didn't start with a clean car, but at least it's not junked here at the end of the night like some of the other cars out there on the field. But John Jenkins in the number 7 did lead the most laps down there, leading 65 of the 150 that were scheduled here tonight. Before we go, I want to give of course, a shout out to Dirty Bird Sim Racing for sponsoring tonight's race. Also, some of the other sponsors of the league, including Surf Pro, Glassdoor Brewing, American Regardless, and of course, American Regardless, they're actually going to be the sponsor of next week's race. So pretty cool to have American Regardless sponsoring that race. American Regardless are sponsoring the Charlotte race after Martinsville. Have Victory Lane Quick Oil Change, Kirkwood Transportation, Patriot Media Marketing Solutions, Step Tire, and Falcon Race Reps, other sponsors of the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. And I'm very much looking forward to going to Martinsville, same time, same place next week here on 3Y TV. But before we go, a few shout outs for us. Our friend Thomas Morris from OCR TV for help with the graphics package, and our friends over at SimTV for the camera angles each and every week. But for myself, Peter Short, Carlos Acosta, and of course Greg Rentz, we want to give each and every one of you a goodbye. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay away from everyone who has COVID, all that good jazz. Make sure you stay safe and your family and all that stuff. And of course, we do want to say, Greg Evans, thoughts and prayers are with you and your family once again. Hopefully you can be back on the track here pretty soon. But we'll see you all next week. Same time, same place. Martinsville under the lights. It'll be a good one. See ya!